In this beautiful vessel bag, I've got some of the most forgiving irons currently out on the market. In this video, I'm going to describe what makes a forgiving iron. I'm going to compare these three iron sets as well to potentially see what iron set might benefit you if you're looking for forgiving irons, and also help you guys decide on whether you need forgiving irons to improve your game. So forgiving irons, irons that give the golfer the most help out on the golf course, let's be honest. And there is a lot of different versions of forgiving irons these days, but the premise is on off-centered hits, which golf club is going to still perform to the best of its abilities, which you're going to lose the less amount of distance, which ones are going to look the most confidence inspiring behind the golf ball, and also, to be honest, to some degree, which ones still look really good. Forgiving irons over the years have had a bit of a bad reputation for not looking great. These days, however, forgiving irons look as good, if not better, than some bladed irons. What makes an iron forgiving? As I mentioned earlier, you want an iron that if you don't hit the middle, it still performs as good. And a lot of that is to do with the perimeter weighting, the kind of extra added power around the actual club head. Often, forgiving irons have wider soles to help with turf interaction, so it stops you from digging the club too much into the ground. Often, forgiving irons have a long blade length, so from the heel to the toe, they're longer than a bladed iron, which would be a little bit shorter. And often when you're looking down at forgiving iron, the top edge kind of is more confidence inspiring. It's a little bit thicker. Also with forgiving irons, they're often slightly stronger lofted. So for a 7-iron, for example, all of these three sets, they're all under 30 degrees of loft. A traditional 7-iron is 34 degrees of loft. So they're stronger. So again, confidence boosting. If you've got a shot and you're pulling out a 7-iron over a 6-iron, it's going to give you that little bit more confidence. In the bag here now, in fact, I'm going to start with the club in my hand, is a Ping G430. I've got the 4-iron, 7-iron and pitching wedge. And I've also got two other sets, which are more of a modern take on forgiving irons. These are hollow bodied. So effectively, they've built the head even more structure, certainly around the hitting area and around the toe and the heel. It's a hollow head design, often then filled with some sort of polymer. You've seen speed injection in the past, but that's really to offer, again, ultimate forgiveness. This is the Tailmade QI iron, which actually looks really, really neat. That's a beautiful looking iron. And also I've got the Cobra dark speed irons as well. Again, this is a hollow head design to offer the most forgiveness. These are all strong lofted, as I mentioned earlier. The 7-iron lofts are up on screen now. You've got the Ping G430 at 29 degrees, the Tailmade QI10 at 28 degrees, and the Cobra at 27 degrees for a 7-iron. That is going to be a rocket-powered golf club, surely. Price-wise as well, for these sets from 4 to pitching wedge, they all come under £1,000. Tailmade being the most expensive at $990. The dark speed from Cobra being the cheapest in this set at $850. Without further ado, let's hit some shots and talk about which irons out of these three sets I think are potentially the most forgiving to help you play better golf. Okay, starting off with the Ping. For me, Ping have been known for many, many years of making a very good forgiving iron. To be honest, the whole brand is aimed on forgiveness. Even from the very first putter they brought out, the answer, that was to give more forgiveness on putting. And that premise has stayed the same throughout the woods, they're very forgiving drivers and also irons. For me, when I look down at a forgiving iron, it's certainly the blade length that stands out to me the most. Like that club looks so much longer from heel to toe. I feel like the ball almost looks small in comparison to the club head. As I mentioned, the strong lofted, this is 29 degrees for a 7-iron, so I'm expecting this to come out pretty hot. Let's hit a load of shots. I'm going to hit the 7-iron, the 4-iron and the pitching wedge of the Ping, and then move on to another brand. I mean, that is almost a perfect example of a forgiving club. Almost a perfect example. I did not hit that from the middle of the club face. I hit that very much from the toe. I mean, it was like on a blade that would have nearly missed the grooves. I hit that very much from the toe. It carried 166 yards, which is solid for a 7-iron. And as you saw, finished only a few feet away from the pin. That is honestly just the perfect result for a forgiving iron. And on a bladed club, you just wouldn't, the club would have twisted, the drop off in ball speed and distance would have been more severe, and potentially it would have gone more off to the right as well. That's as good as you can see for a forgiving club. I will give you in a bit as well some downsides to forgiving golf clubs, because there are a few actually. It's not all perfect, because otherwise everyone would be using forgiving clubs. There are a few downsides, but I'm going to hit all these pings first: the 7-iron, the pitching wedge, and the 4-iron, and then we'll move on to another brand. Okay, pitching wedge up for the ping next. 41 degrees, which is super strong for a pitching wedge. Pretty good considering I thinned it. Four-iron next. That's an interesting one. That was hit so badly. I mean, that was so from the heel. And again, that's the benefit of a forgiving golf club. It's almost pin high, 14 yards. And I genuinely nearly missed it. I don't know what I was thinking there. My mind slipped for a minute. But it's just a perfect example of why some golfers, maybe even including me sometimes, needs that forgiving golf club. But then you hit it good, and that's the result. A little bit too long, maybe. Okay, moving on to the Cobra Dark Speed next. Again, forgiving model, hollow head design. It's interesting actually, just after hitting the ping, it looks, I mean, it's such a very different shape. It's actually quite a low profile head from top of the club to the bottom to the sole there. It's quite low profile, but again, very long from heel to toe. I suppose that, again, almost gives me that feeling I can hit this quite up in the air. And I'm going to need to, because this 7-iron is 27 degrees. It's one of the strongest 7-irons I have ever reviewed, ever. 27 degrees. That's effectively, in my set, that's my 5-iron. So that's a bit wild actually. It should, in theory, go an awful long way. It's gone an awful long way, but a little bit left. Oh my God, it's gone 190 yards of carry distance. That's not a 7-iron. I pulled it, granted, but that's gone a long way. I actually can't believe how far this 7-iron's going. Let me check, I've definitely got the 7-iron. Yeah, that's 192 yards of carry distance. Now, super frank with you, I caught that one a little bit thin, low on the face. It still carried 188 yards. That is a very powerful golf club. As I mentioned, the loft is super strong. That goes some. Okay, pitching wedge up next. Loft of this is 42 degrees. So I've put the flag at 150. This is actually a nice looking pitching wedge. It's very rounded. It's actually a really nice shape. Yeah, it's not quite as low profile as the 7-iron. They've definitely made some big adjustments as they've gone more up in the loft. Yeah, this is partly an issue which I definitely need to talk about with forgiving irons. There's definitely a tendency, a little bit more offset, the way that the weight's been distributed, definitely a little bit more tendency to go left, which I'll touch on as I summarise these 3 sets. I feel like I've got to fight that left a little bit though. That's a nice shot. Just, these brands do enough research to know that majority of golfers who want forgiving irons do lose it a little bit to the right. So they've made clubs to kind of adjust that and help you hit the ball straighter towards target. For me though, I already pull it a little bit left, so these go even more left than that. That was the 7, that was the pitching wedge. Let's smash a couple with the 4 iron. 18.5 degrees of loft. I used to have a 2 iron, Callaway 2 iron that was 18 degrees of loft. So these are super strong. It's gone back to that kind of low profile. Actually, again, I think that from a forgiveness standpoint is brilliant when the distance between the top of the golf club and the sole is quite slim. Almost more like a hybrid type shape. I think that's going to help a lot of golfers, certainly getting the ball airborne. Let's see what this 4 iron does. I've got a feeling this might go quite a long way left. Oh, I've managed to fight it and absolutely drill it. That was really nice, actually. Felt good off the face. That low profile definitely is kind of quite confident, inspiring. I feel like it's easy to get the lowest, almost the center of gravity to go underneath the golf ball when it's so low profiled. I like that a lot. Oh, that's a strike. Woo. That is packing some heat. Nearly 250 yards with a 4 iron's quite crazy. Okay, let's go one more. Good strike. It's got into the rough at 250 yards. I can't say I've just tested the forgiveness level of that 4 iron because every single one of them was right in the middle of the club face, smack bang in the middle. I mean, they were great results, to be fair. Okay, and then last in this kind of experiment review, Tailmade QI irons. These, without question, have the best shelf appeal. I love the shiny, kind of metallic. They look like a really premium iron. I would say on Tailmade's approach, they've gone for kind of more mass. Like the face looks big from heel to toe, which I've mentioned already with the ping. But instead of going shallow head profile, it just looks like they've got a big face, a big hittable face. Some would describe me like that. But this is a 28 degree 7 iron. It's a good looking iron, to be fair. Now, I remember a couple of years ago, I reviewed the Stealth irons, and they were kind of obviously a family extension of the Stealth driver. I was impressed. The Stealth irons I was really impressed with. I do the QI irons have the same kind of characteristics. It just looks like behind the golf ball that I cannot hit a bad shot with them. I still think they might go a little bit left, but they just look so confidence inspiring. They really do. Oh, it's gone so high up in the air as well. Wow. 182 yards for a 7 iron, which is genuinely 2 clubs longer than what I would normally hit it. And so high up in the air. I mean, that's how it gets its stopping power. It's not from spin, it's from launch. Wow, that was so nice to hit. Well, that's a good one. Thinned it. I absolutely thinned that. Look at that. And that just summarises forgiving golf clubs. In a shot there, that absolutely summarises forgiving clubs. That was a bad strike. With a bladed iron, a less forgiving iron, that wouldn't have got to the green, it would have gone more to the right. As you can see there, how far was that from the pin? Like 2 foot away, 2 or 3 feet away? 6 foot, 6 inches away from the pin. And I hit that awful, I honestly did. I'm not doing it on purpose, it's just part of the fact I'm not a robot. Oh, a little bit right. a little bit leaky. Pin high, but wasn't my best shot there at all. Again, forgiving iron. It's not a horrendous result, it really isn't. Still got the distance. That's what I'm expecting to see with this iron. Just in my hands, that's what I'm expecting to see. It just turning left, and there's no way of it stopping going left for me. But one more. Good example again, that wasn't a good strike. It's on the green, it's at the back of the green, and I did not strike that well at all. Okay, pitching wedge for the Tailmade next. Good looking head. So high up in the air. One of the highest pitching wedges I've ever hit. So high up. Okay, 4 iron of the Tailmade. Same idea with the Cobra. This is 18.5 degrees for a 4 iron. Expecting again some ridiculous distances. Oh my gosh, that's gone long. Little fadey one, but that has gone long. Again, knocking on the door of that 250 yards and kind of ran out into the rough there. These long irons are just, I'll come on to everything in a minute. I do think they're too strong. I really do. Like just that loft is so small, like so flat. As I mentioned, I used to have a 2 iron that was 18 degrees. This is 18.5 and it's a 4 iron. I mean, it's confident, inspiring, it is. Because it's like, a higher handicapper can't hit a 2 iron. I've got no chance of being able to. Maybe with a 4 iron in the hand, they might have a bit more of a chance, but I'll come on to that in a minute. It's kind of more placebo effect than it is actual real technology. I might try to give that one a bit more of a hit. Just for fun and games. Just because why not, eh? Just because why not? That was a really insightful and actually quite fun experiment. Between just the 3 iron sets I hit there today, the Ping, the Cobra and the Tailmade, they all perform quite differently. They all look a little bit different, they all feel very different. It's hard to actually pick one just based on hitting the shots. I'll come on to the numbers in a minute. For me, looks wise, and this is only a personal opinion, I actually like the look of the Tailmade probably the most. I probably like the feel of the Ping the most, and I possibly liked the ease of hitting and the distance I got out of the Cobra. I kind of want a hybrid of all the 3 sets, but obviously you can't do that. What I want to show you here first, I'm going to show the launch monitor numbers in a minute, but this comes with a warning, and a big warning at that. Now, these days, fittings take place very often on a launch monitor like I've got here, a GC Quad. Don't get absolutely suckered into which 7 iron goes the furthest. It's a part of it, it is, but it's not the full picture. Because you've got to take these clubs out on the golf course, you've got to play different types of shots with them. The stronger the loft, which you'll see in this experiment in a minute, does hit the ball further generally. But what you end up finding then is you need more wedges. Like your gaps between your shorter irons is much bigger. So I'll come on to that in a second. If we look at the 7 iron numbers just in isolation first, we've got the Ping, the Tailmade and the Cobra. Quite staggering differences actually, more than I expected. And I hit all different types of shots, and I kept all the shots in there, bad shots, good shots, etc. The Ping was average carrying 172 yards. Solid for a 7 iron it is. But when you look at it compared to the Tailmade, which was carrying 181, and the Cobra, which is carrying 190 yards, it's quite crazy. It's 18 yards difference. Now the lofts would marry up to that. The Cobra is the strongest at 27 degrees. The Ping is the weakest at 29 degrees, but 18 yards seems a bit too much. Things to note. If you look at the graph at the top, the Ping was collectively the most consistent shot shapes around the flag. The Cobra, for me, certainly the head shape, every single shot was going a little bit left. That's going to add a bit more distance as I pull it. Again, for higher handicappers who probably leak the ball off to the right, that's a welcomed addition. The Tailmade had a bit of everything. Had distance, had a bit of right, a bit of left, had a bit of everything, a bit of variety. So definitely something to consider. And if we look into the pitching wedges, not then that much of a difference. The ping was the shortest at 138 carry, nothing to be sniffed at again. And the strongest, the longest, was the Cobra. The stronger the loft, the further it's going to go. You could look at spin rates and things like that. In fact, the ping spin rate was quite low, but don't look into that too much with the wedge. It's all about how high the shots went, and all three of them went up to the moon. They really did. Before I come on to the 4-iron data, I also want to talk about a few other negatives potentially of the forgiving set of irons. Often forgiving irons are harder to shape. So if you're a good golfer and you want to hit it high, low, fade one, draw one, it's a little bit harder with a forgiving iron. And often they don't feel quite as soft as a muscle back iron or a bladed iron. They feel a little bit firmer. They're just things to consider, they are. 4-iron distances, we see somewhat of a similar story. The ping was carrying at 207, again, good numbers. The Cobra was carrying 222, that's long for a 4-iron. The Tailmade was carrying even longer, 227 yards. That is ridiculous. So long, it really is, almost too long. Just bearing in mind, again, if you're going for a fitting, don't just look at carry distances, even though we've obviously discussed them here, how they feel, how they look to you, and how you think you're going to play them out on the golf course. Don't just get bogged down in which 7-iron you're going to hit the furthest.